Yo, what up guys? This video is pretty exciting to make, or rather it has a lot of exciting news. Starting with, we can now choose the master missions with the map device, so we don't have to talk to the master anymore in our hideout to do that, so we can just do that straight from the map device. And there's three, because there's three different tiers of missions. There's the white, yellow, red. That's really good, but the bigger thing I want to talk about is we'll introduce a favorite map system that allows you to increase the drop chance of preferred maps. So actually they did end up making it, and here's how it looks like. So you can add this, maps into the preference thing on the UI on the left. And well, we saw this and I was like, okay, that looks good, but give us the numbers so we can actually figure out if it's good or not. And they did. It is a 10 times multiplier for each of the references, or the preferals. You can put them into, actually I should probably just have it here since I have some notes. So you can use this drop preference multiplier the maps. It makes those maps more likely to drop over other mobs of that tier. This does not work with unique maps, because unique maps are not like normal map drops. If you didn't know, you can actually increase the amount of unique maps you get with quantity and rarity, like on gear. So like, forget about unique maps. And yeah, so the system, like this preference, is not region specific, as in the bonus or like the multiplier applies to all maps of that tier when they drop. Doesn't matter what region it's from. We got up to 3 of the multipliers, so that's a total of 24. 3 from each of the 8 regions. And you can use them in whatever way you want in that region. So you could put them all into one map if you want. You could put them into different maps of different tiers. So you could put like one into 14, one into 15, one into 16, or something like that. Obviously, you could also put 2 in one map and then 1 in another, or something like that. Each of the multipliers is 10 times, like seen in the tweet. So you can make one mob drop 3 times more likely than other maps. Now, this doesn't mean that you will get 30 times more of this map compared to every other map combined. It's against another map individually. But this allows for some absolutely insane amount of map drops of that specific map in certain situations. For example, if you only have 2 maps that was able to drop in that tier, if you were to slam all of the 3 bonuses in that one map, it would make the chance of the preferred map 30 out of 31 and the non-preferred to be 1 in 31. So in that case, it would actually be 30 times more. Also, the good thing about this, which I for some reason didn't add here, is you can switch this very easily, though there's no cost associated to it at all. So that's really nice. And as a quick note, it's pretty interesting to me that the multiplier, how the system works, is exactly as I described a few days ago in my example of what I think it should be in order it to be good enough. If you want to watch that, it's going to be up there somewhere. Should pop up soon. Yeah, so how do we get this? So you can only get this multiplier from regions where you have actually completed every single non-unique map. The first one you get when you complete all of the maps. This should mean that if you complete every single white map in your region with 0 watchstone, that you do not get this preference yet, because there are still more maps in that region left to be completed, which would mean that you have to have 4 watchstones in there so that you can see all of the maps that are in the region but are just hidden. I'm not sure if you had a clarification on that, but that's how I would imagine it to work. If they don't do that, then there's some little caveats you can do. The second one you get when you have all the maps completed with the bonus objective. So the bonus objective is when for a normal white map, so T1 to T5, you just need to run it as a magic. For T6 to T10, you have to run it as rare. And then for T11 to tier 16, like these are like native, so when the map first appears in your atlas, and for the reds you have to run them as rare and corrupted. That way you get the bonus objective, and then the last one you get with getting awakening bonus objective from those, which means that I believe it was most of, well, you're gonna have to have awakening level 8 for a lot of the maps with the highest tiers to get it. So yeah, that's how you get them. And yeah, this means that you won't be able to fully customize your map drops until you have done a lot of the progress. Well, a lot of the progress. Here's a bit of the how to calculate like your actual chances of those maps to drop. I'll have this as a base pin link down in the comments and the description if you want to look at it from there. But I'll go quickly over this. So first you have to look at how many maps you can drop in that same tier. So let's say that we have 60 maps that can drop. I believe there's like around 70 T14s with Awaken level 8. So the number is actually a tiny bit higher in some cases. And in this example, I'm going to go over, we don't have any multipliers yet. And so that means that each of the map has an equal chance to drop. And that will be our divisor. Oh boy, math. And then if you do have multipliers, such as uncompleted, which I'm not going to talk right now, or the new preferral system, each of the maps weighting will add together to sum up your divisor. I mean, it's the same here, but here all of them has a 1 in 60, so that's very easy, right? And when all of their chances are added together. So when you add all of the chances together, so 1 in 60 multiplied by 60 maps, you will get 1 out of 1. Because if this was like not 1, that means you would be like, maps would be poofing around. Or if it was higher somehow, well, then you would be getting more maps than you were supposed to. This is just the chance of the map drop. So yeah, here's the example of that. And then now we start adding multipliers to this. So let's say that those 60 maps are distributed somewhat evenly in 8 different regions. That gives us a total of 24 multipliers that we can use however we want in those regions. But before using all of the 24, let's just use 3 first. And we use those 3 in one single map in one region. So we'll have a 30 multiplied by 1 as being the dividend for that map. And then for the rest of the maps, because they have the equal non-upgraded chance, they will have 1 as their dividend, right? And now we added 29 new like weightings. Like think about we have a basket where you have a piece of paper with the name of your favorite map, right? So we just added 29 papers with the name of your favorite map to it. So we have to add this to the divisor now. So with that, the chance for the map that we want the most is 30 out of 89. And then we'll have 1 out of 89 for the rest of the 59. So if we add the 59 and 30 together, we'll get the divisor, which means we'll get 89 out of 89 equals 1, right? So as you can see, you get much more of the map you want. However, in this example, this would have been like an Awaken level 8 with all of the T14s being able to drop, even though it's actually a higher number. You'll get a lot of maps that you don't want. So either you drop down Awakening level if you want one specific map, or you use more of the preferences and you get a tiny bit of more variance, which I think is what most people will do, and that's what I would recommend myself as well. But yeah, let's take an example where we use all of the 24 multipliers. We'll use, for the sake of making this a bit easier, we'll use all of those multipliers on single map in each of the 8 regions. So we'll get 8 maps who'll have, well, that have the dividend being 30, because 30 is, 30 times the chance. And then we'll have 52 maps, because, out of the 60, we removed 8 from the normal, like the one in, like the low chance. And then we'll have to add 8 times 29 to the divisor, because that's how many new, paper pieces with the names of those maps we have in the basket now. So now the divisor is going to be 292. And now the chances for different map drops are going to be like 30 out of 292 for each of the map that we added the multiplier on. So when we add those 8 together, we get 240. And then 1 in 292 for each of the non-upgraded drop rate maps. So we'll have 52 of those. So 240 plus 52, quick math, that's going to be 292. And again, we get 100 So this means that in that setup, where we'd had 60 maps of the same tier with fully Watchstone Atlas for Awakening level 8, over 80% would be the map that we chose to. And for the vast majority of people, that is much, much, much more than they need. So yeah, so it's fine. Now, if you were to drop the Awakening level down a bit, let's say, yeah, I'll give you an example of that. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to Lyra Arthane with 4 Watchstones, and this is the only region that has these 16s for us. Now, since there's only 4 of these 16s, let's say that I put all of the preference to Dark Forest. So we'll have 30 times higher chance for Dark Forest over the other 3 maps. So then we look at the numbers. We'd have 30 out of 33%, 30 out of 33 for the preferred map, and then each of the others would have 1 out of 33, which is pretty nuts, right? Now, this isn't the entire story, so there's a few things to consider. Uncompleted bonus, which is 2 times over the others, is a multiplicative with the preference rate multiplier. So if you leave a map uncompleted and you run an adjacent map to it, you'll have a higher chance to drop it, right? However, if you left the map uncompleted in a region, you won't be able to get any of the preference multipliers. So that's kind of whatever, right? However, if you have maps connecting different regions, so let's say we're running a tower and we have a canyon uncompleted, we will get, and we have the preference in tower, we'll get 2 times more canyons over colosseums. So that makes the numbers a tiny bit harder to come up with, but it's not that big of a deal. Also, that means that we're gonna get tiny bit of less towers in that case. So if you're running a map adjacent, like a map that has adjacent map that is uncompleted and the same tier as the map that you're running, you should probably consider completing it. It's not a big deal, but something to note. And then boss bonus drop is affected by this. And in case you don't know what boss bonus drop is, when you kill a boss in a map, it has the base chance is 1 in 3 to drop an adjacent map. So when we run a tower, when we kill the map boss, there's 1 in 3 chance to drop an adjacent map, which would be Geode, Siege, Colosseum, or Canyon. And when it rolls for a D16, it can only be Canyon or Colosseum. We literally cannot get a tower out of it. And we cannot get Dark Forest or Gardens from that specific boss bonus drop. The boss can still drop those maps, but the boss bonus specific drop cannot do that. And whenever you get a map drop from a boss that is un-ID'd, it's either magic or rare, the chance is that it was boss bonus drop, because the boss bonus drop is only un-ID'd maps. So this chance can be increased with awakening levels. I believe it was 1% flat. I had a chance to this to happen. So you start with like 33% chance, and then you get up to like over 40% with high awakening level. So yeah, if you run a map that is not adjacent to your preferred map, you won't be dropping that. So let's say that we want a lot of dark forests. We have the preference in dark forest, and you end up running a tower because you have some towers. The boss bonus drop cannot drop a dark forest, which means that the map drop distribution is not quite the 30 out of 33 in that case. Obviously, the more maps you run, it gets closer to that. But yeah. And in the good example here is that if you're running Colosseum, when the boss bonus drop decides to pick a T16, you will have a massive chance to get a dark forest over tower because the map preferral multiplier applies to it. It's like what, 30 out of 31 instead of 1 in 31. So it's absolutely insane in that case. I don't know why I looked at it. And then should you always fully complete your atlas now? Now, again, in most cases, I'd say like 1 in 10,000 might not want to do that. So I think GGG has hit the nail on the coffin in this case, or like in this system. But there are still cases where you'd want to not complete that. But overall, eventually, you will want fully completed atlas, in my opinion. It might take a while before you are at that state. So before you are at that state, having some maps uncompleted might be a good idea. But yeah, so during early atlas progression, leaving underside maps uncompleted can still be potentially better, especially for people racing for levels. And in the cases where you want few specific maps of a different tier from multiple different regions, you can actually have a 100% sustain of those. So let's take an example. I only care about Defile Cathedral, Estuary, and Dark Forest from this region. And I only care about Canyon, Caldera, and Barrows from this region. So what I can still do is not complete any of the other T14s, 15s, or 16s here, and the same here. And then whenever I run the 3 different maps in this region, I will take Watchstone out of here so that the maps can't drop in that tier anymore. And either taking off stones into other regions to drop the tiers down or up if you're doing low tier maps, or just not completing maps. But obviously you wouldn't want to not complete. There's like 10 or something plus 14s here, so you would just do that, right? I don't know why it doesn't. Oh wait, that's because the wrong one there. So we drop the tiers map here, but as you can see, there's like a few 14s, so you might want to uncomplete those still, or like not complete them, right? But yeah, so we're running these maps here, Defile Cathedral, Estuary, and Dark Forest as the T14, 15, and 16, as they were normally. And by removing, not having the other maps completed here, we only had Barrows, Caldera, and Canyon as 14, 15, and 16, which means that when running those maps, the only maps at that tier would be those 3. And then when we run out of maps in here, you would put the Watchstone back in, and you would remove a Watchstone from here to do the same. Now, as you can see, when you're going from high tier maps, like when doing this flip-flop, Watchstone flip-flop in high tier maps, you will lose a Watchstone from your region that you're running. If you were to do going from running T12 tickets, you could add a Watchstone. So in that case, it would potentially be a good thing, though it is adjacent to a T14, so the boss bonus drop would be able to drop the T14 pit. But the point being here is that you might lose Sextant. And not only that was a decent amount of maps that I didn't complete. Now let's say that you wanted to run Underground Sea as one of the maps with the flip-flop system. You would have to not complete, I think there's like 17 T14 maps that are T14 in here. So that's a lot of a lot of bonus and awakening bonus objective that you're not getting, which means less map mod effect, which means less pack size and quantity and rarity from your map mods, and it also means less master mission chance. So you get one master mission, like a flat chance to get a master mission, up to 45%. The base is 35. But yeah, so every 15 awakening objectives gives you 1% flat chance to get it, and then every 6 gets you 1% map mod effect. So now the argument becomes here: is it worth losing all of that bonus and obviously awakening level bonus itself, going from, I mean, the awakening level doesn't really matter if you're doing one specific region with fully completed, but these alone, in my book, make it almost always better to go for full completion and then just drop awakening level instead a tiny bit. Or for the most people, I think they're gonna fully complete, have 4 watchstones everywhere for the most time at least, and then they will just use the new system to prefer some of the maps, and they'll get an absolute massive amount of sustain of those. But the number, the 82% that I mentioned here earlier, that would only mean for that specific tier, because I used all of the preference in that tier. Now, if you were to split it down a bit, it would mean a bit less, but that would allow you to sustain more of the high tiers. So, yeah. Overall, I think how they are doing this system is the minimum they can do to make it really kill the not fully completing Atlas, in my opinion at least, for the end game. But yeah, I think they did a really good job with addressing the issue. But there are still, as long as you can leave a map uncompleted, there is a reason to not complete it. It's just a matter is the reason good enough to not do it? And I think right now, with these numbers, if they stay, they might change, obviously, for the worse or for the better, I guess. But if they were to go worse, then it would make not completing maps better again. But right now, with these numbers, they're good. I am no longer planning on starting my league with a second account. I will just go with my main account and fully complete, probably. Potentially, maybe leave some high tier maps from some regions not completed. Like, for example, I'm not particularly interested in doing T16 malformation Shrine or Chateau. And that would just mean that I don't have the orbs from here, but it would also mean that I would never drop these T16s, and I can use the preference in the other regions. So, yeah. But I will definitely, at some point, also test the old strat of the not completing maps. But I think that what they're going with now is gonna be more than fine. Yeah. Hopefully you have fun with Delirium. If you got any questions about the new system, just fire it up, come to the stream to ask, or, obviously you can just ask in the comment sections, and I'll probably answer them whenever I get to check them. Yeah, I'll see you guys later.